On the evening of May 17, 1947, Louis Armstrong stood in the wings of Town Hall in New York City and prepared to walk on stage with 6 musicians instead of 15. The big band had been his working format for most of the 1940s. The large ensemble, the arrangements for brass and rhythm and reed sections, this was what the music industry in the 1940s expected of an artist of Armstrong's stature. And this was, in the economic landscape of the mid-1940s, the standard way that a jazz musician of his visibility organized his professional life. The big band era was ending. Not slowly, not gracefully, but with the specific speed of something that has been sustained by an economic logic that is changed, and that, once changed, cannot be changed back. The dance halls were closing. The one-nighter circuits were shifting. The economics of maintaining a large ensemble, the salaries, the transportation, the arrangements, the sheer organizational cost of keeping 15 musicians employed and moving had become, for most band leaders, prohibitive. Armstrong had been feeling this for months. The band he had been leading in the mid-1940s was professional. It was not the thing he needed it to be, not the specific configuration of musicians that would give the music what he heard when he imagined what the music should be. The big band format was not wrong. It was simply not the thing that was available to him in 1947 when he tried to hear what the music needed. The small combo was what the music needed. 6 people instead of 15. Space instead of mass. The specific intimacy of a room in which the musicians could hear each other, in which the conversation could happen in real time rather than through arrangements, in which the music could go where the moment asked it to go rather than where the charts said it should. He walked on stage with 6 people. The promoter called it an experiment. Nobody called it a revolution. Not yet. What the small combo gave Armstrong in 1947, what it gave the music, and what the music gave the audience, was the specific pleasure of music that is not managing a room, but talking to it. The big band had been a kind of weather, large, impressive, organized, capable of filling a space with sound that moved people physically. The small combo was a conversation, smaller, more personal, directed, capable of saying something specific to a specific listener in a way that the weather cannot do. Armstrong at the center of this conversation was Armstrong as he had been in the 1920s. The specific, directed, personal quality of his playing returned in a context that could hold it and that gave it room. The second number of the evening found the room already changed from where it had been when the first number started. The audience had arrived with the expectation of a concert by Louis Armstrong, a specific expectation, formed over decades of his concerts, with a specific content. They had not arrived with the expectation of this. 6 musicians in a conversation, the room listening as a participant in the conversation, rather than as a witness to a performance. The difference is subtle, and it is also absolute. Being a witness to a performance means watching something that is happening in front of you. Being a participant in a conversation means that what you hear and how you respond shapes what happens next. The small combo, in the specific way of music that has space in it, made the audience participants. The silences were shared. The moments of arrival were shared. The pleasure of what was happening to everyone in the room at the same time. Armstrong finished the concert the way he finished most concerts, with the full warmth of a man who had done what he came to do and who knew it had been done. He walked off stage without ceremony. He did not make a speech about what had just happened, or what it meant, or what he intended it to be the beginning of. What he had intended it to be was a concert. What it had been was the first demonstration of the format that would define the last 24 years of his professional life. Town Hall in New York was not a jazz club. It was a mid-sized concert hall, a formal performance space with a proper stage, rows of seats, the specific atmosphere of a room that expected what was played in it to be treated as art worth listening to. This mattered. The big band era had been, fundamentally, an era of dance music, music whose purpose was to provide the rhythmic foundation for a ballroom, whose arrangements were organized around the demands of a dancing audience, and whose tempos and structures reflected those demands. The music was often excellent, but it was organized around a function, and the function shaped the music in ways that were not always compatible with what Armstrong heard when he heard the music at its most essential. The small combo in a concert hall freed the music from the function. The 6 musicians on the Town Hall stage on May 17, 1947, did not need to think about the dance floor. They needed to think about the music. What the music wanted to do, phrase by phrase, in the specific space of that evening. This was, for Armstrong, a recovery of something that the big band years had made more difficult: the capacity to follow the music rather than the arrangement, to respond to what was happening in real time rather than what was written on the chart, to play with the specific freedom of a musician whose only obligation is the music itself. The 6 musicians in that room had the language, the shared understanding of what the music was doing and where it was going, and what each of them needed to do in relation to what the others were doing. The small combo required this language. It required musicians who could listen to each other and respond, who could hear what the moment called for and give it, who trusted each other enough to follow where the music led. The first number began, and the room, the formal town hall room, the seats, the specific atmosphere of a concert hall expecting music to be listened to, went quiet in the specific way that rooms go quiet when the music in them has made quiet feel like the right response. The audience was listening, not because they had been asked to, because the music had done something that required listening. The All-Stars, the formal ensemble that would carry that name, debuted officially later in 1947. The lineup would shift across the 2+ decades that followed. Musicians came and went: trombonists, clarinetists, pianists, drummers. The specific personnel changed. The format did not change. 6 people, a concert stage, Armstrong at the center, the music finding what it needed to find each evening. The All-Stars played their final concert with Armstrong in February of 1971, a few months before his death in July of that year. 24 years of the format, thousands of concerts on every continent. The same basic configuration: small, personal, conversational, built on the understanding that the music was the point, and the music needed space to be itself. Town Hall in 1947 was where this started, not with an announcement, not with a formal declaration that something was beginning, but with 6 musicians walking on stage and playing the music the way the music asked to be played. What the Town Hall concert revealed about Armstrong was something that the big band years had made temporarily less visible, but had not changed. Armstrong had always known what the music needed. The big band had been an accommodation to the economics and expectations of a particular era. The small combo was the accommodation ending. When the accommodation ended and the music was given what it actually needed, space, conversation, 6 musicians listening to each other in the same room, what came out of it was the All-Stars. On May 17, 1947, Louis Armstrong walked on stage at Town Hall with 6 musicians. Nobody called it a revolution. Nobody needed to. The music announced itself. The room went quiet and listened, and then it went on for 24 years.